to the Small Business Show, where you get to hear the journey, find the challenge, and create solutions. I'm your host, Lori Brooks, and I thank you so much for joining me today. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with Uriel Bitton. Uriel is a cloud consultant, writer, and thought leader in the world of serverless web application. With a career spanning 104 successful cloud serverless projects, Uriel has helped businesses design cost-effective and scalable solutions, specializing in DynamoDB database. He's also the creator of 3 technical newsletters, 2 blogs, and the author of an ebook on AWS and DynamoDB, read by over 500,000 readers. Uriel's mission is to build the greatest cloud computing blog on the internet and empower 1 million people to build resilient and powerful applications. Uriel, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Lori. Thank you very much.
Of
I'm glad to be here.
course. Of course, I'm glad to have you. I'm excited to dive into your journey. I'm excited to dive in and learn all about how you've gotten to where you are today. But before we do, I want to rewind the clock just a bit. I want to go back to the days of, say, junior high or high school. Think about a time when an aunt or an uncle, or even someone at school, a teacher or a mentor, may have asked you, Uriel, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you think your answer to that question was back
Hmm.
then?
That's an interesting question. If I had to think back, I would say early days, I probably had no idea. But as I was growing up more and more, I think very closely actually to what I am, but maybe not exactly, but close. So I think I wanted to become an engineer, but not the type of
Mhm.
engineer that I am today. More of a mechanical engineer
Mm.
because I had a lot of family members that were engineers, and I always looked up to that. Um, and well, but I became a software engineer instead, and I think it's closely related. It's very stimulating. It's rewarding. So I'm not disappointed in that decision. I think it was a good path to take in retrospect.
I agree. I definitely agree. You still get the creative side
Yeah,
without
exactly.
it. So it's still an exciting journey to be able to create.
Mhm.
So share with us what this journey looked like. You knew that you wanted to be an engineer, but somewhere along the way, it did shift. That thought process changed. And you were probably looking to be an engineer in more of a corporate sense. Am I incorrect in that thought, or am I correct in that thought
Yeah,
process?
yeah. Well, I think yes, naturally, because when you hear about when you're a child and you hear about people, especially back then, most people were, working in corporations. Most people were employed rather than how it is today, where a lot of people are self-employed.
Hmm.
Most people are probably still employed, but I mean, they're starting this trend, that we're noticing in recent years, where a lot of people are self-employed and taking things on their own, like all types of startups, or like people that create startups that want to be on their own, or creators, or very a lot of different types of engineers, right?
Hmm.
But as I was growing up, this was less prevalent, and
Hmm.
because of that, yes, it was, I had more of this, you know idea of the 9 to 5 job and working at a really cool job at an office and everything. But obviously, a lot of that has changed to what my ideal job today was, and but I couldn't be happier for it.
I love that. I totally understand what you mean. But way back when, even when I was growing up, I mean, we were taught to get a job. You do, a job with 40 hours a week, you get a pension, a retirement plan, you grow old and you retire from this position, and you're all set for retirement. And,
Exactly.
as I've discussed time and time again throughout episode after episode, those days are not here anymore. Unfortunately, those days are gone. And, the idea of retiring from one company after 40 plus years of service is almost unheard of in 2024. It truly is. And, I think that's why the hustle culture took off. I think that's why so many of us have become entrepreneurs, whether it is, a side gig that people are doing or something where they've taken the dive into the entrepreneurial journey full on. I think you're seeing it more and more in this day and age, simply because, especially post pandemic, people are recognizing, large corporations may not realistically have that end piece for you in the manner that it did many, many years ago. So, what was it for you throughout the journey that made you recognize, okay, maybe I don't realistically want to be an engineer with a corporation and a 40-hour a week position? What was it that sparked that entrepreneurial idea for you?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question. So I think I actually tried it, right? So I was for many years I actually started with regular, employed jobs, and I realized more and more that I liked it less and less. It's more of a my mentality is always to have a lot of flexibility with what I do. Have a lot of I don't like to be limited into one idea, one mindset, and especially one that I don't agree with, right? So, and that can happen, so sometimes it's happened that I did agree with the overall mindset of the team or company that I joined with in software engineering, but many times it did happen also that I didn't agree with. And rather than adapt, I'm not the type of person to adapt, but rather to just make my own path forward with my own mindset and what I believe is best for my future, for my career, culture wise also. So I think you have a lot of flexibility. Of course, obviously, I think it goes without saying you have a lot of more flexibility when you go on your own, and that is something that's very important to me. And I didn't really enjoy not having flexibility of different circumstances, what to work on, when to work on it, and especially when you have a family, and when you're not single, right? It's a lot more complicated, I would say. And
Mhm.
I don't really subscribe to that. Uh, you know, just 9 to 5, show up every day, work as much as you can, and then at the end of the day, there's no place for creativity. There's no place for flexibility. Even though I think it's starting to come more and more. In 2024, there's starting. It's shifting a lot, as we can see. Remote jobs and culture changes and everything. It's just not enough at my level, and I need that freedom to express myself. And that's where we really began. I started shifting. So it was really a trial and error. I really tried a lot of different companies. I did remote, I did on-site, I did hybrid. I worked with various different cultures and teams, and I just liked it less and less, and just went on my own path.
I understand. Corporate careers can kill creativity. In fact, there was, a gentleman that was on the show earlier in the beginning of the year, Jeffrey Kent. He's a business consultant, a brilliant man. And one of the things that he was mentioning is, the skills that will get you ostracized from a corporate career will make you wildly successful as an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And it's true, your creativity might be stifled in the office, and if that's something that the audience is struggling with, if that's something that they feel on a regular basis, take note of this. Listen to that little voice in your head.
Mhm.
Listen to the voice that Uriel's giving you. Hear that moment of, something's not really allowing me to be authentically me. Something's not allowing for me to be as creative as I truly want to be. And that might just be that calling that pulls you in that direction of an entrepreneurial journey. So you
Mhm.
definitely listen to yourself. You recognize that, okay, I've tried this team, I've tried that team, I've put my skills to work here. This isn't, serving my soul. I'm not growing the way I want to be. So, what were those first steps for you, Euro, when you decided, all right, I'm going full in I'm going to work for me. This is what I need to be doing. What did those first steps look like for you? And what do you feel like was the biggest hiccup?
Yeah, that's another good question. I think the first steps really for anyone, and the ones that allowed me to do this, to take the entrepreneurial road, was to build an audience even before leaving. So it's much harder if you can do this even, after you've like, oh, sorry, after you've left, but it's easier to do it before. So a couple years before, I knew I wanted to. It's not something that happens like one day you wake up and you want to like become an entrepreneur, quit your job. It's more of like a culmination of months and months, or maybe sometimes even years. In the moment where I started realizing that it's not for me, which would have been like maybe 2 years ago, I started to build an audience online. So I started writing a lot. I started becoming a little bit of a creator. So mostly writing, I would say, writing on different social networks, writing for different blogs. I did a lot of writing for the past 2 years and built the audience to on Medium. Then I did a lot on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a big place for writing. So writing posts and promoting yourself, for creating a brand. It's really effective, and doing this for the months or years that lead up to the moment where you would say, you've had it and you want to quit, is really valuable, because then from there you're not starting from scratch. You've developed a network. You have people where you can reach out to start offer your services to, and that's really how I started. So I grew my audience on different social medias like LinkedIn, Substack. So yeah, newsletters are also a big thing. I have a few newsletters that I've been writing for a while. All of these together, they really create a network where you can promote your services and start not from zero, but from a good place where you have a small client base, and you can start your entrepreneurial journey.
I love it. Building the brand, making sure that there is an actual audience there for when you do take the leap. Instead of just taking the leap and trying to figure it out, you really started from scratch long before you ever walked away. You recognize, okay, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. So I'm going to eventually work for myself. I'm going to eventually build my brand. So why not start now? And that is a brilliant question to ask the audience. And I thank you so much for explaining that, because sometimes the journey starts long before the journey begins. And that's
Exactly.
something that's really not discussed. The quote unquote overnight success, that's never an
Mhm.
actual overnight success. So thank you for clarifying. Long before you left corporate, you said, I need to build a brand. You started building your brand. You started building your audience so that when the day came that you were ready, you were able to walk away without the hesitation or fear of, okay, what are the next steps? Where am I going with this? You already had the roadmap laid out for yourself. So, congratulations on an awesome start to the journey. So, please share with us where you are now.
So today I'm, focusing on a few things. I'm focusing on um, not just building my brand, but really improving it as much as I can. So
Mhm.
I'm using a few tools to do that. I have my, like I mentioned, my newsletter. Newsletters are a huge thing right now. They're the biggest audience building tools, bigger than social media, like many people know. The whole concept of rented versus owned audience. Where
Mhm.
newsletters, it's an owned audience. There's a lot more value than that in social media. But of course, social media like LinkedIn is also very valuable. So I'm building my brand on social media. I have some newsletters building that, my blogs that are building that. So right now I'm focusing on growing my brand. I'm creating a new course, DynamoDB, which is services I provide, for as a AWS consultant. So that's where I am right now. I'm growing it slowly. I didn't start long ago. Like I said, it started only about 2 years ago. But of course, as you know, when you're working a full-time job, things go slowly, which is normal. And only
Yes.
about a few months ago, I've started, full-time on that. So I'm still in at the start, I'm still at the beginning, growing it, but I'm exploring a lot of different areas, different mediums to grow and elevate my brand.
Share with us a little bit about how you got involved with the Amazon Web Service. What was it that attracted you to the Amazon Web Services, and what kind of services you're now currently providing to your clients?
I was building an app with a partner. One of the requirements was, I think it's a pretty typical requirement where you think it's going to become huge. That's like
Mhm.
99% of the apps we built. Even though it doesn't happen often, but just the fact that one of the requirements that was that it needed to scale really high got me into making my research, because I've been in this field for 12 years plus, and a lot before this happened, I was mostly doing non-scalable things. So anything that can work, creating apps, but never focusing on more than supporting more than like a big amount of users, more than like 1,000 users or something. And when this requirement came through to the app that I was building with my partner, I realized that I had no knowledge of how to scale an application, right? So something
Mhm.
like Facebook, has millions of requests per second. And when I
Mhm.
was faced with that challenge to do it, I had no idea where to start. So I did my research, and I found, of course, I fell on the different cloud platforms, specifically AWS, and the different services that it provided for scalable, building scalable applications with the cloud. I learned as much as I can. I took in all of the courses that I possibly can, but I also built a lot at the same time. So instead of just getting theoretical knowledge, I actually built out applications. I actually went and built applications that could maybe not handle like huge amounts of traffic, but maybe trying to get there, like trying to go more than what I was accustomed to, which
Mhm.
would be maybe like supporting maybe 50, 100 users. I tried to do that for like 1,000 users or more. So, and even though and none of the applications I built even reached to that kind of traffic, which is usually signifies a very successful application, I still strive to build systems that could support it. And I built a lot of systems. And so in those 6 years, I did build a lot of those systems for clients. Some of them did actually scale pretty high. Some didn't. But what matters was that all of this taught me a lot about AWS, about different services to have high performing applications that are also scalable at the same time. Through learning all of these technologies, I was able to build this brand in DynamoDB, which is a database that is a database service that is offered by AWS that allows for exactly this use case. So building very high performing databases that can scale like infinitely. And I learned a lot about this, about DynamoDB, about various AWS services, but I always really liked DynamoDB, and this is where I built my brand over it. So that's to answer your second question. The services, professional services that I provide are consulting for startups and small businesses about their databases, how they can optimize their databases, how they can make them faster, pay less money. That's another very important one. And so not just consulting, but also actually developing and designing the data models, and really everything to take a database from a business that is may not be scalable, may not be efficient, may not be optimized,
Mhm.
and put it to that level where they need it to run their business effectively and really seamlessly. So I provide those services. And even if for businesses that don't even know where to start, I also build them this database so that they can build their company around. Because databases, in my opinion, are, and a lot of developers will agree with this, is that the one of the core components of any application is really a database. It's the most
Mhm.
complicated to manage, to design, but it's really one of the most important, because without a database, nothing happens. With a good database, that's where everything starts to come into place. So that's basically what I do.
You are making it possible for businesses to actually scale. And that's a dream come true for a lot of people. So truly,
Mhm.
Uriel, you're helping other people's dreams come true by creating scalable solutions for businesses that didn't have them in the past. And the funny thing is this show is truly all about helping the audience find an industry or a business and help them come up with a solution in an industry that they weren't thinking of prior to watching the episode. But I really feel like that magic wand question is something that you yourself are already waving for the general public. You've
Mhm.
waved the magic wand. You're making it so that no matter what it is you're working towards in your business, there's a scalable solution to actually be able to grow that business properly. That in and of itself is a magic wand and pretty awesome. But I'd still love to know if you had that magic wand, Uriel, and could change anything at all in your business, what do you feel like it would be?
So you said if I could change what exactly? I didn't catch the last word.
If you could change anything at all in your business, so as a consultant, as a
Right. Mm.
creator, as an engineer, what do you feel like that would be?
What could I change? I would change. I'm working with all types of clients over the years. I think the number one um, problem that most people have but don't know that they have it or are not conscious of it enough is has always been and is always still costs. So um, here's a scenario. Most businesses, most developers will create their database, and they'll not even be conscious of the cost that it's costing them. But they'll see it, of course, in their monthly bill, but they don't realize um, that you can optimize it. And sometimes they may even neglect it. They may even be like, okay, but it works, And so that's why I say unconscious, or they don't care, neglect it, all that. But at the core, at the bottom line, is that cost, they hurt businesses a lot. And
Mhm.
so the services I provide, they help with lowering costs as much as possible. But I would make every business owner more conscious of the costs that
Mm,
are hitting their systems, that come to their systems, and be able to optimize those. And that would
mm,
just lead to a lot more opportunities where, because like I said, a lot of people don't even know they have this problem, and they don't even, and not knowing it or not being conscious of it is hurting their business,
mhm.
even in a way that they don't know. So
How many hidden costs or sunken fees are people paying without even recognizing that they're paying them anymore? So definitely that's a good one, going back and looking at what subscriptions you've put in place over the years and whether or not it's truly serving you or your practice at this point. And if somebody could create a solution that would automatically create clarity for small business owners surrounding those hidden costs, that would be pretty impressive. So thank you for that, Uriel. I appreciate that. That's
of course,
outstanding.
yeah.
So I'd love to know if you had the ability to go back in time, say 10, 20 years, and tell yourself just one thing before you started the entrepreneurial journey. What do you feel like you would have told yourself?
I think what I would tell myself probably would be that, and it's a mistake that I've made, and that I know a lot of people make, is that instead of focusing on the the technical services and the technical benefits that you can offer to companies that you provide services for, it would be to actually um, focus on the either the monetary value, right,
Mm,
or the value in terms of non-technical terms. So for example, it'll make your application faster, uh, rather than saying, query latency is lower, right? Which is something like, 99% of business owners don't understand. And it's a mistake that a lot of people make, and I have made it myself. And I realized that business owners, anyone really who hires you for technical jobs, they don't care about the technical details. They don't
mm,
care, like, about anything that's going to be better, any benefits technically. They don't care about that. They care about either two things: either cost, if it's costing them less, they can save
mhm,
money, or if it's removing headaches, which is making their applications faster because maybe it's too slow, or
mhm,
making the performance better. Instead of freezing or crashing, it's just a better experience. So I would say, talking in terms of how non-technical business owners can understand that. So from knowing your technical benefits, translating those into non-technical benefits. And I think that focusing on that is really something that I've learned over the years. And if I could go back, I would teach myself to talk like that to
mhm.
clients, to business owners, and everyone. Yeah.
I understand being able to communicate with clarity with those who don't have the technical background that you were blessed with.
Mhm.
I understand completely. So definitely you'd go back and just clarify the communication throughout the journey, which is definitely important, whether it's an entrepreneurial journey or life in general. So clarity and communication, I think, is across the board, even in a marriage, for crying out loud. Clarity and communication, it's super
Of course,
important. So
exactly.
Uriel, you've been outstanding. And I thank you so, so much for joining me today.
My
Please,
pleasure. Sorry.
of course, please share the best way for our viewers to be able to find you.
So the best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm active on there daily. My LinkedIn is my name and last name. I think you can see it on the screen there. And I post daily about DynamoDB, AWS, and the services I provide.
Excellent. Well, I will be sure to include a link to your website and the LinkedIn page and the show notes page. Again, Uriel, I thank you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It was a
Of
pleasure
course.
talking to you.